What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I'm heading into the office to put in some silver orders for some of our clients, and I found this in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I wasn't quite sure. So I've been watching it like a hawk, and I was like, is this true? Has this happened? Has this occurred? And I think it's pretty obvious now, so I can speak about it. If you've never bought silver before, there's a good financial reason why you would do that. It's like it's currency that's outside of the system. If you're a US resident, there's a huge financial reason that you would buy US silver, because not only is it out of the system, it's also US currency that is printed to a original value, meaning that an ounce of US silver will literally say on it $1. And it is $1. A dollar is a unit of weight. And so back in the day when it was an ounce of silver, we were like, yo, dollar, like, you know, the US dollar. And then what happened is we turned it into like a paper fiat currency and we printed those dollars. And now it takes exactly 35 American dollars to buy an ounce of silver. This is interesting because the spot price of silver has been falling over the last few weeks. So currently the spot price of silver is right around $22. However, the premium on US silver has only been increasing at basically a fixed rate of $35 an ounce delivered to your hand. So that is to say that the premium on US silver at this point in time, though the spot price of silver continues to get smashed down, like at the beginning of every trading day, and like it's really interesting to watch spot price of silver. It's really interesting. You're like, man, how do they do this? They're like magicians. But like the spot price, though it continues to go down, will be made up for by the premium on the price. So essentially, US silver at this point in time costs $35 an ounce. And last week, it was a premium of $11 and a spot price of $24, and it cost $35 an ounce. And the week before that, for some of my clients, because I have a lot of clients that request like US silver, and there is a big reason why you want to do that. But previous to that, it was $25 an ounce, a spot price on ounce, and the premium was around $9. And so it's just like consistently been staying in the exact same range, right around that $35 range. So the reason that people request US silver, like especially some of my clients, is they're super educated in this space. It is good for $1 US. If you've ever traveled outside the United States, you come into customs, or their customs, your customs, whatever, definitely coming home, they'll ask you, are you carrying with you more than $10,000? And if you're carrying with you 10,000 US silver ounces, though I don't recommend it because there are ways to ship this relatively inexpensively and fully insure it and not have any like security issues, like as far as like risk to your own well-being, the answer is no. The answer is nope. I've got $9,999 US dollars that I'm transporting in my luggage, and that is good for that amount of currency. And that's what's really, really interesting about US silver. Same with US gold. And a lot of people will want pre-33 gold when like we discuss their finances. And so if you've never purchased precious metals, the case around that is a lot of wise investors will say, look, 10% of your portfolio, whatever that may be, whatever your liquid net worth is, maybe your total balance sheet, like your property and all that other stuff, maybe 10% of that.
Circumstance where the government isn't able to normalize interest rates and isn't able to control their spending and continues to debase the currency the way they have now. If they lose the faith and confidence of savers, like they did around the world in the early part of the decade of the 70s, that's an if. The gold price will surprise you. The silver price will surprise you, and it'll surprise you to the upside. The good news about that, Kerry, is that numerous studies have shown that a fairly small weighting in precious metals, 10 to 15%, can offset the damage that's done to 50 or 60% of your portfolio by the impact of increased interest rates on lower equities prices and lower bond prices. In other words, you don't have to have 100% of your portfolio in precious metals and precious metals related securities. 10 to 15%. And so when I say this is what you need to do, I can't tell you what your government's going to do. I can't tell you what my government's going to do other than something bad. But what I can think about is what I have to do. And what I have to do is insure myself against that collective stupidity called government. I'm looking forward to volatility. There's nothing in the world I like more than volatility.
But 10% for sure needs to be in precious metals. Now, precious metals don't give you yield. This is why the US dollar became so prevalent in the first place, is because it was backed by gold. It was as good as gold. It was redeemable for gold. And in 1944, when the world moved to the dollar as a reserve currency status, it was better than gold because you could just own US dollars and get interest on them. So it'd be like owning gold and getting 7% interest on your annual holdings. So the old, the old meme, like save money for a rainy day or save money for retirement or whatever, actually was true. And it is true if you saved money, not currency, but the money. And in those days, you could get a yield on that currency or on that money. And so you could live off of that yield. You had $1 million and you're getting a 7% interest rate. You have no risk. It's literally in hard money, and you're getting a 7%, $70,000 a year income off of it. So it's great. Like it's awesome. So nowadays, people still have these options that are open to them, and they can actually utilize their holdings to insure their portfolio. So what I mean is, like, if something crazy happens and 10% of your net worth or your portfolio is sitting in gold or silver or whatever, you're good. Like, you're totally good. Because if you look at historical events where you've had hyperinflations or currency collapses, government collapse, you've had any of those things happen, if you look in those local currencies as to what happened to the price of gold and likewise silver, you're totally okay. Like, you're totally good. Meaning, like, yeah, the rest of your portfolio might go to hell in a handbasket, but your 10% holdings in your insurance, if you will, is going to more than take care of making you whole, meaning that you will lose nothing on your portfolio. In fact, you actually may gain. Not that you want that event to happen at all, but like you'll be fine. Now, the downside to it is that doesn't create a yield to it. Not these days. It doesn't create a yield. Now, with the products that we sell at Miles Franklin, you can get some yield. Like, you can get yield on your cash, for example. Like, if you wanted to place cash like with Miles Franklin, you could get a 6% interest rate. And there's a program there where if you had gold or silver, but mainly gold, we had a client recently who wanted a business loan, and so he has his metal in a safe at a Brinks vault with Miles Franklin. This is a service we offer. A lot of people will use this in their IRAs. You can even use it in your Roth IRA. So yes, you can buy physical metal with your Roth IRA. You can buy physical metal with a traditional IRA, and if you've got it in just whatever account and you want to loan against it, you can, and you can do so for 84 basis points a month, and you pay it off whenever you want to pay it off. We had a client who loaned against a large gold holdings, like in the millions. He had a big contract that he received, and then he essentially wanted to get the liquid cash. So what he did is he took his cash, bought gold, then loaned against the gold to get his cash back, and then bought these machines, and those machines were going to pay him off in a year. So he had told Miles Franklin, like, hey, I'm going to pay this thing off in a year. Who cares? No one cares, because he's paying essentially 84 basis points, which is less than 1%. Think of it like 8.4 or 0.84% a month. So he's basically paying like a 10% a year interest rate to loan against it. So it's not the cheapest interest rate in the world, but it's a secured loan, and it's something that he can do. There is the largest advantage to having particularly U.S. silver, but any metal, any gold. Let me wrap up on the pre-33 gold. I went off on a rabbit trail there. Pre-33 was stamped $20. So, pre-33, 1 ounce of gold was $20. and a dollar was a dollar. And so we had a set ratio in America of 1 to 20, which is a little bit below or a little bit higher than the ratio in the Earth's crust. The ratio of silver to gold is 1 to 12, but currently it's selling at about 1 to 80, and that's just like, you can thank the paper markets for that. And so that's why silver is like such a cheap a thing to buy right now, because when those ratios come back in line, you know, 1 to 50, 1 to 40, 1 to 20, 1 to 10. The mining ratio right now is 1 to 6. And that's just because we mined most of the silver early on. It's always been really inexpensive. And so like things like Polaroid films and stuff used a lot of silver, and they went into landfills. And unless that price of silver goes up to, you know, recyclable price, no one's going into landfills to recover it. So it's basically, it exists on the planet, but it's not in circulation. Whereas a lot of the gold, or all of the gold, is all in circulation, or, you know, it's in a vault somewhere. So you can get pre-33 gold and it's $20. Sir, you bring more than $10,000 into the Dominican Republic? Nope, I'm not. And you can hire Brinks to just move it for you. They can just move it from one vault to the other vault, and it'll be your coins. It's not like it's like a mixed bag of coins or something like that, where it's just like, no, it's like your stuff. So you can get like self-allocated storage, which is kind of really neat. But I thought it was interesting that the price, the premium, has separated from the paper price, essentially saying like, hey, like, and this is true of like the Canadian silver too. It's not quite as high, but the Canadian silvers, I've been watching it like a hawk, and it was like $4 premium, $4.50 premium. It went up to like $6 at that trucker thing. I've seen it like as high as 10. So I've never seen Canadian silver as a premium higher than US silver. But likewise, it says the exact same thing. It's printed. It's got a printed, you know, currency value on there. Same thing with gold. So any of the sovereigns typically have that. And so people that prefer, you know, pre-33 gold, it's because of that $20 thing. This is the coolest thing about metals. It's really is how like the elites move large amounts of cash. One, you can loan against it, which is amazing. No credit score, no whatever. You got gold, you can loan against it. So it's a secured loan. But two, there are two assets that are non-reportable to the IRS, and those are land held outside the United States and any metal, like precious metals, held outside the United States in a non-financial institution, meaning like a Brinks vault. It's not a bank, it's not a whatever, like it's held somewhere. It can be in your house. Let's say you own a house in Colombia. Yeah, you don't have to report that to the IRS. So a lot of super wealthy people will move their profits from their businesses over into gold or silver, but definitely gold if they're running a large entity, like a large business, because gold gives you an ability to loan against it very easily. You can loan against silver, but your margins will be higher, meaning like because silver moves around so much and so volatile, and one, a lot of it, like the spot price of silver is what is 22, but the actual price of US silver is 33 or 35. So it's like, yeah, you can loan against it, but not at a $35 rate. You can loan against it at a $22 rate. As opposed to gold, there'll be a premium on gold, but it's minuscule compared to like the spot price of gold. So gold is $1,800 a spot price, and you're buying it for $1,900 or something like that. You know, you can loan against it, and let's say you're loaning against 50% of it. And that way, if it moves up or down, you don't get margin called, meaning like, hey, your assets have now fallen in value relative to your loan. It almost never happens with gold, so it's super consistent. So like a lot of wealthy people will go, they'll move 10% of their profits into gold religiously every single month, and that's what like a service like what I do is good for. Like people have access to, I have a phone that just is for silver, and people text me at all sorts of hours on that. Hey Trav, I want like just one text from one of my clients, and he orders every month, and he's like, hey, I want 50 Eagles, I want 25 of these, I want, you know, whatever. And then, you know, I just ask like, where do you want it shipped to? Because they've got different addresses. You want it shipped to this? It's all like, it's all shipped really cool. It's all insured when it's all shipped. It's shipped like through private, like labeling and all that stuff. Or do you want it like you want it custodied? And there's like an annual fee to have your metals custodied. But if you wanted to move them to Germany, or if you wanted to move them to France, or you wanted to move them whatever, and you didn't want to pay a fee, I mean, one, it would take it takes forever to move currency. If you've ever tried to move like 25 grand, like my buddy just bought some property in Colombia, and he's like, Trav, it was a beast to move some cash over to Colombia. I've actually had 3 buddies now bought some land in Colombia, and they're building, so I'm like excited about this because we're going to be doing some trips down there. I've never been, so I'm super excited about this. But like Trav, It's not easy, man. I'm like, well, with precious metals, it's relatively easy. Like you can literally, there's options, right? I mean, there's even the non-allocated options where you can just go to Brinks, like inside of a Brinks vault, and you're just like, you can move cash real easy. Once you're in it, it's really easy to move it. It's kind of like crypto. It's like, once you're in it, it's easy to move it. Once you have it, once you've already gotten it from an exchange. So there's some interesting, they're not loopholes. They're just like the foundations of the original system that we still have that are left over from, like, you know, the old days where, yeah, like, are you moving more than 10 grand? Nope, I'm not. Are you moving, you know, and it's not taxed. It's not, you know, and you could move that cash and then you could liquidate, or that, I call it cash because it's as good as cash. It's how I treat my cash these days. It's like I have some US dollars, about, like, out of my liquid net worth, I keep like 1/3 of them in US dollars, and then I keep like 2/3 of them in like silver or gold. Well, silver, gold, and then crypto to me is like a different asset class, but like crypto is a lot. But like, you know, a lot of it is in silver. Like I have more silver than I have cash. Let's put it that way. Because it gives me like that, oh, you're moving $1 out of the United States into Mexico, and then what are you doing with this dollar? I'm gonna go to a Mexican bank and say like, hey, I have, you know, 1,000 US silver ounces, $1,000, and they have an X amount of market value, and I'd like to buy some land or something like that. It's an easy way to do that transaction, as opposed to calling up my bank, like, you know, formerly BB&T, SunTrust, now they're like Truist, the Truist, yeah, oh my God. All these bank names are bizarre. And like, hey guys, I want to move, you know, 50 grand over to Mexico. And they're like, well, come on in here with your IDs and all this paperwork. And why do you want to move this money, Trav? And what are you doing with this? And who's it going to? And all that type of stuff. I can just do it with silver, where I can just be like, yeah, I just want to move, you know, once it's like, especially if I have some in a vault, which I'm working on now, like I'm putting some outside of the country. Not that I'm like worried about the country that I live in, but I want to have some of my assets spread out, and I want to be able to just jump on a plane and be like, yeah, I have access to assets here, and I can go get them. And then I can enter into that currency or that culture and exchange it for their local currency if I need to, and then buy assets inside of that thing. So that's like my next move of like where I'm at, like what I'm trying to do. I see clients do this all the time. So the spot price of silver has divorced itself, or I guess the price of physical silver has divorced itself from the spot price for the moment. It doesn't seem to have come back. I've been watching this. It seemed to me, and some people called it earlier than that on this, but it seemed to me like the Canadian trucker thing was like that moment where I saw it separate. Up to that point, I was like, yeah, $4 premium, $4.50, $5 premium on Canadian silver above spot price. That's reasonable. It's not crazy. We've got stuff as low, like you can get a premium as low as like $1.75, and that's for a COMEX bar. It's just like a generic COMEX bar. It doesn't have the rights of currency. Like if you're in Canada, you can bring Canadian silver to your bank. Not the teller lady, but like you can go up to the second floor and meet with like a manager, and like that is good. Like they will give you digital currency for that. So those are the reasons why the sovereigns and those premiums are like very, very high, because you've got those special privileges, and that's the price of silver. So at this point in time, like silver is $35 an ounce if you want US dollar silver. That's what it is. The spot price may be 22. They may smash it down to 19. I have no idea. It seems like once the spot price, like, you know, rips past 30, it just seems like it's just going. Like, especially once it rips past $50, it just seems like, yeah, it's off to the races. It's going to be unobtainable. There's literally like the spot price of silver is so low that there's no incentive for the miners to go out and get any more of it. And it gets consumed in batteries, electric cars, phones, computers. Like, it just gets consumed. So unless it's being produced, there's just not this opportunity, or there's just not this incentive to go out there and mine any more of it. Which is interesting because it creates like this possible real crazy short squeeze at some point in time. And if you're in that asset, like, that's pretty awesome. So if you're interested in silver or anything like that, gold, I like silver right now because the ratios are so wacky. And then the mining ratio is literally 1/10 that of the paper ratio. It's like an obvious play to me. But if you want that, my email is below. I'd love to help you out. jump on the phone with you and do an order with you. Typically, if you're ordering through a vendor like us, you're gonna pay about $1 less per ounce, apples for apples, than you would on any online dealer. And certainly most local coin stores. If you're doing like less than like $1,000, $2,000, sometimes local coin stores, they don't always have the best premiums, but it's such a small transaction, and not like it's a small transaction. I buy like $500 increments all the time, like literally all the time. But it's like when, you know, shipping is $15 flat rate, so that's like we lose on shipping, but that's part of the brand. Like it's part of like the thing. But like if you're getting like 10 ounces, for me to take your order and jump on the phone with you, you know, it's like there's not like huge commission levels in it. It's like you do this because you're building a client list of people who have these assets, and if you're like me and you know where this thing is going to end at, and you're like, yeah, I mean, I'm just going with the historical cycle, and like I'm just betting on that. I want to build a large a book of clients that have this real net worth, this real wealth, so that when it becomes very popular and like everyone's jumping into it, one, I have a relationship with clients and they can text me because we have an existing relationship, and like when everyone starts piling in, it's gonna be like, dude, I don't know who you are, I don't have any of your information, I don't have an account set up for you, like go check out your local coin store. But there's not gonna be any, there's no silver at the local coin store. It's like, I know, but like that's why I take care of my clients. Like, my clients have like 24-hour access to me, basically. Like I will get them their stuff. We can buy after hours, which is cool. I can like get up in there in the portal and like get you whatever you want. Like I can look through inventories at all these exchanges and just pull you what you want and get it coming to you. But like, you know, that the spot price and the actual physical price, they have separated at this point in time, at least on the sovereigns. And that's you know, it's a sign that this thing's heating up. It's starting to bubble, and I don't know when it's gonna pop, but like it's definitely bubbling. It's definitely starting to brew, and I have no idea when it's gonna boil over. So any questions I can answer for you guys, hit me up in the comments, send me an email. If you'd like to do an order, I would love to put you on my book of clients and jump on the phone with you, talk about your financial situation, and be like, how much allocation should you have and where. And for some of you, the custody option might be a thing. I'm like mostly self-custody stuff-ish. I've got it spread out and around, but now I'm starting to like add to different areas. And that's like that's a whole nother video. You get your own key. No one else has a key to this. You can go to these facilities and like go get your stuff. There's one in Miami. There's one in North Dakota. There's one at the Royal Bank up in Canada. I believe there's one in New York. I have to double check on that. But there's like, they have all these different vaults everywhere, and they're like all over the world. And so you can have your little stuff set up in your own little situations all over the world. And it's a currency that you can move. It's basically like ghost currency once you own it. And it's pretty cool. And like the average person doesn't know that, but if you go back to a textbook pre-71, they will always tell you have a physical allocation of gold, or, you know, allocation of gold assets, miners, whatever, 10% in your portfolio. If you look at like Rick Rule or some super wealthy guy, they'll tell you the exact same thing.
Studies have shown that a fairly small weighting in precious metals, 10 to 15%, can offset the damage that's done to 50 or 60% of your portfolio by the impact of increased interest rates on lower equities prices and lower bond prices.
And like the average, you know, financial guy can't make any money on it. Like that's the toughest thing, is like you sell some silver, you might make a little commission on it, and you're not making more than like, you know, a few bucks on a transaction, as opposed to if you buy, you know, a mutual fund through a financial broker, they might make 1% a year on that forever. Like as long as you own the asset. You buy, you know, like 100 grand, just easy numbers, in a mutual fund, they're making $1,000, and if that thing goes down to $50, they're still making $500 on it. Like it's a loaded fund. They're making money every year. You sell them 100 grand in silver, you know, you might make $1,000. Yeah, 1%. Yeah, I mean, you might make $1,000 on that transaction, right? That's it. You're done. Like, transaction's over, right? There's nothing else here. So the financial guys are like, yo, we don't promote that. I've got a bunch of buddies in finance, and I studied finance in undergrad, and and some of my buddies will refer me some clients, and but like most of them are like, yeah, we don't get commission on that, so we're not doing that. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you down in the comments, and till next video. Peace.